From the Israel Sports Radio Studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Louis Live! There's your host, me, and Raphael Geller. How you doing, Raphael?
I'm okay, Ari. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And stupendous.
That's good. Let's get things kicking, though. We have our first guest who's covered 39 Super Bowls. Gordon Forbes. We're very excited to have him on. He works for USA Today. I believe he is retired, or he says he's semi-retired on his LinkedIn. Maybe you can ask him about that. But, all right, you're going to do this interview because 39 Super Bowls, I'm sure he's covered a lot. We have 12 minutes with him. We're going to call him up. And, again, Gordon Forbes, I believe it is, from USA Today. So we're going to dial him up real quick. And, we can talk to him. There's been a lot of good Super Bowls, especially with the Patriots and Giants lately. But we'll see what he thinks about all time, and maybe he can give us some insight into his favorites going into the year.
Yeah, again, the Super Bowl is just a part of Americana. There are so many things to go with in this interview, and we'll try to get as much as we can in the 12 minutes with Gordon. A lot of places to go with, all-time Super Bowls, favorite Super Bowls, best Super Bowl players. But I actually started with an interesting question. We'll see if Gordon knows this answer. We'll see how much he's on the inside. Hi, am I speaking with Gordon?
Yes, you are. That's right.
Hi, Gordon. This is Ari Louis with Israel Sports Radio. You're live on Louis Live. And it is a pleasure to have you on. Of course, you're a Super Bowl expert. You've been to cover 39 Super Bowls and attended them. And I'm going to ask you a question that I'm not sure if you're prepared for. I'll start with a curveball question. In Super Bowl 39, right in between halftime and the third quarter, it might have been early in the third, there was a gentleman that somehow got on the field. He got past security. He danced and did a jig. And he might have been in the nude. I'm not sure. I want to know if you could talk about that incident, if you have information on it, or other pranksters, practical jokes, people at the Super Bowl that have been able to get past security and do weird things that the average audience member might not know about.
Yeah. Well, during the halftime, while everybody else is having their hot dogs and soda, a lot of the writers, most of the writers are writing their early stories. Because the deadlines on papers have become very, very challenging in recent years. And it used to be, the Super Bowls, when they used to run the ball a lot, there was one Super Bowl I remember, it took only 2 hours and 29 minutes. And some of the writers used to go back to their hotels and have dinner and then write their stories because the deadlines were like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. But now it's tighter deadline. So I don't recall that incident. I never saw it. I'm not sure about, I know there's been this religious guy who slips in now and then, but ever since 9/11, the security has really stepped up. In other words, the writers have to go through a security check, metal detectors and all that stuff. And they give you, when you arrive for the Super Bowl, they give you this one pass. You're hanging around your neck, and that entitles you to go, interviews and all that other stuff. But on game day, the Super Bowl, they give you another special pass to get in. So it's kind of hard to slip through and get in there undetected. I think that religious guy, I'm not sure, he holds up a religious sign every now and then. I think he's gotten into a few Super Bowls. I wouldn't swear to it, though.
Okay, so that might be the gentleman I was thinking of that did a dancing the jig. Now, some of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, we've seen some recent years. A lot of times they're blowouts, but we've had the closer games. I know it's a cliche to ask you what is the greatest Super Bowl of all time, but so instead of asking you that, just talk about some of your fondest memories of the Super Bowls you covered. Of course, covering 39, that is quite a big sample. And if you could tell us some of your fondest memories, again, some inside information if you could, because we've seen all the videos, we watched all the highlights, we've read the stories, but since you're on the inside, you were on the ground, if you can give us some inside information of some of your favorite Super Bowls.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, let's go way back to Super Bowl III. That was a game in which Namath guaranteed the win for the Jets. Now, I was covering the Philadelphia Eagles for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I had not seen the Jets play. In fact, I hadn't seen any of the AFL teams play. But I put my binoculars on Namath warming up, and I distinctly remember he was wearing these white cleats, and I watched his drop back. I said, "Oh my God, look at that guy! What quick feet, a quick drop back!" And then he delivered the ball. And I said, I think the Jets were like 18.5-point underdogs in that game. But watching Namath warm up before the game, I said, the Colts may be in trouble here a little bit. I didn't expect the Colts to lose, but because they had a super team there themselves. But Namath really impressed me in those warm-ups there. And hey, the Jets played a heady game. They played a strong game, and the Super Bowl has never been the same. Pro football has never been the same. But I tell you, another game I remember was I'm looking at the Super Bowl. I'm trying to get here it was. It was Super Bowl 36 after the 2001 season, in which the Patriots beat the Rams 20-17 on Vinatieri's field goal. You remember that Ram team? They call them what do they call them? The greatest show on turf. They scored a lot of points. They had Kurt Warner. They had those fast receivers, and they had an underrated defense. But I remember Bill Belichick. I tried to keep track of these guys. He would send in two players, pull two, and send each down. He would substitute and get the matchups he wanted. And I thought it was the best defensive game plan that I'd ever seen a coach deliver there that day. And he held down. I don't think the Rams scored a touchdown until the last quarter. And that was a very, very high-scoring offense, that Ram offense. Where they had Marshall Faulk, they had Kurt Warner, of course, and they had all those super receivers. So that was one of the games that sticks in my memory. Then, of course, there was a San Francisco 49ers game in which they beat Cincinnati when Joe Montana threw that last-minute pass to John Taylor. Montana put together that winning drive. That was a very, very electrifying win for them under Bill Walsh, the 49ers coach. And Walsh, I was talking to him one time, and he said that wasn't his greatest team. I think his greatest team was the year before. And he said he thought his second team could have gone out and won more games than it lost against the NFL teams. So those are a couple of the Super Bowls. Of course, there have been some clunkers too. But the thing, I'll leave you with this. The thing that strikes me about Super Bowls now is how many times they throw the ball. I did some checking. In the last 12 Super Bowls, there's only been 300-yard rushes. And there's been the Marshall Faulks and the Jerome Bettis playing, the great runners of the game in the Super Bowl. But the game now is all about passing. They pass and they pass and they come out passing. They line up in the shotgun sometimes to start a game. And as Tom Flores was saying to me, last year we were talking about Super Bowls. He said it's a passing game. He said they open up with 3, 4, and 5 receivers. You might open up with a nickel defense, meaning an extra back. And he said it used to be you ran to set up the pass, and now you pass to set up the run. So that's a little bit of Super Bowl history. If you don't have a great quarterback, you're not going to make it there.
All right, again, this is such a great topic. I was just telling my co-host in the green room, you could speak for hours about this. We only have a few more minutes with you, and I want to go to Super Bowl 40 because I contend that is the worst refereed Super Bowl in history. I believe the referees cost the Seattle Seahawks that game. They cost them at least 14 points. A bunch of mistakes. Ben Roethlisberger did not get in on the 3rd and goal. There were penalties against the Seahawks that should have not been called. Is your opinion that was the worst refereed Super Bowl, or is there another one out there that we're not aware of?
Well, there's one way back, and it was a play in which the Dallas Cowboys got away with a pass interference call that wasn't called, and I'm trying to think of the details on that game. I think it was Super Bowl way back, Super Bowl 13, I think it was. It might have been Super Bowl 10. I'd have to check out my records, but I think it was Super Bowl 10. Now Pittsburgh won by 21-17, but there was a play in there in which Benny Barnes, I think it was the defender, and Lynn Swan collided, and the nearest official didn't call anything, but then there was another official running up and threw the flag, and that was a big pass interference call against the Cowboys, and then the Dallas kid went in and scored the winning touchdown off that drive, and that sticks in my craw, sticks in the craw of people I used to talk to, like Tex Schramm and Tom Landry, the coach and the general manager of the Cowboys. They thought that was the worst call of all. But I'll tell you another one going way, way back was when Baltimore edged Dallas in Super Bowl V. I'm testing your memory. They had a play there where Dwayne Thomas went in for what would have been a winning touchdown, and he fumbled the ball, and the Cowboys, Dave Manders, I think the center, recovered. But there was a tackle, Billy Joe Barnes, I think it was, a defensive tackle for the Colts, Billy Ray Smith. He came bounding out of the huddle saying, Colts ball, I got it. And the referees gave it to the Colts. And that prevented the Cowboys from winning that game. And I thought that was one of the worst calls of all, because I talked to players who were involved in that call, and it was a terrible call. And if Dallas scores there, they win the game. And that would have given them, they won. That would have given them 2 Super Bowls in a row, because they beat the Dolphins the next year. And that was the worst call, I think. Even worse than the Dallas-Pittsburgh call on the pass interference.
Yeah. All right, Gordon, last question before we let you go, and it's a shame that we are running out of time. We'll have to have you on again to talk more in detail about Super Bowls, because so much history and so much great stuff. But last question, Super Bowl V, Chuck Howley wins the MVP in a losing effort, as you alluded to, the Colts-Cowboys game. The Cowboys lose 16-13. Chuck Howley played so great, they gave him the MVP. It's happened a few times where a team who lost could have had a player that won the MVP. I wonder if you can go into detail about some of the players on the losing effort that played well enough that they should have won the MVP, or at least close to winning the MVP.
Yeah. Well, in that game, I think Howley intercepted 2 or 3 passes. I think it was there must have been, that's a long time ago, there must have been, there wasn't any real stick-out player for the Colts that year. I mean, they could have given it to the kicker, but it was sort of a crazy game. A lot of fumbles, I recall. Some guy called it the blooper bowl instead of the Super Bowl. There were fumbles. There were penalties. There were a lot of crazy plays. I think that was the game in which there was a tip pass that John Mackey called for a touchdown, and the Cowboys at first thought it was touched twice it was touched by Baltimore twice or something like that. There was an argument over that call too, but anyway, the referees got that one right. But I don't know. I sort of I don't. Usually Super Bowls now, because the passing game has taken over the running game. In the last 12 years, as I said, there's only been 300-yard rushes, and it's all about passing now. They'll pass 40 times a game and run maybe 18 times. So the quarterbacks usually emerge as the most valuable player, unless a receiver has a terrific game and 7 or 8, 9 catches, couple of touchdowns, something like that. But it's very tough for a defensive player to get a most valuable player award in a game that big.
Yes, absolutely. And it has happened, of course, a few times. Dexter Jackson with Tampa Bay, and a couple other, Larry Donald with the Cowboys Super Bowl 30. But you're right, it is very difficult. Gordon, this is a shame that we've had to end the interview, but this has been a pleasure to have you on. We're going to have to do it again. We hope you'll come back on Louis Live.
Enjoyed it.
Okay, great. So we hope.
Okay, we'll talk to you again, guys.
Absolutely.
Take care.
We will. Be
okay,
well.
Bye-bye.
Be well, Gordon. All right, that was a short segment with Gordon, who is an expert.
Forbes from USA Today and the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Yes, certainly knew his stuff about Super Bowls, an expert And again, just not enough time in the day to talk about all the great things that have happened in Super Bowls. A lot of just tremendous stories. I was thinking about John Elway. John Elway lost, of course, 3 Super Bowls and won 2 back-to-back. He has a weird record. He's thrown the most interceptions in Super Bowl history. But again, we'll have to have Gordon on another time. We're going to move on to our next guest. He is from the Bleacher Report.
Right. He's one of their top, I believe, 5 writers. He's had over something like 35 million people read his articles. He's like one of the top senior writers. They're very happy to have him on. Tried to have him on in the past. It didn't work out. Let's hope it works this time. If not, it's okay. We have another guest in 12 minutes. So,
Jam-packed show here on Lewis Live. That's how we do it.
Okay, so Matt Miller, we're going to dial him up, and Ari's going to talk to him about some of the big stories in the NFL going into the season. Second preseason week just ended. Season's coming up.
Can't wait. Favorite time of the year, football season. You can smell the leaves of fall, the great air, and hard-hitting football, and it's great. And we're actually, later on, either today's show or later on this week, we'll make announcements about our fantasy football league that we're starting, and Eric Krolik heads that up. Of course,
right. Did you join that, Ari?
Not yet.
You might want to join it because I think there's 10 people in it. So
This is Matt.
Hi, Matt. This is Ari Louis. You're live on Lewis Live on Israel Sports Radio. How you doing out there?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
We're doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on, and a lot of great football to talk about. Of course, the regular season is underway in a few weeks. We're really much looking forward to that. A lot of things to talk about. Let's get right into the story we're seeing on Yahoo about RG3. A lot of people are projecting him to be better than Andrew Luck, but a story indicates that in the long run he could be better than Peyton Manning. I want to know if you could talk about RG3's promise and talent. Usually a running quarterback doesn't succeed Super Bowl-wise, but we saw Cam Newton had a great year last season, so I wonder if you go a little bit in detail about RG3.
Well, I think RG3 is kind of a transcendent athlete. He's a different type of player where the guys like Michael Vick in the past, we've seen some really good athletes play the quarterback position. But with RG3, he's also a very talented passer. And that was, coming into the NFL, he was really far ahead, I thought, from some of the other athletic quarterbacks we've seen in terms of vision, his ability to find targets downfield. So, I think that's what we'll see out of him. There's going to be some early struggles, just like there would be for any rookie. But when you combine his speed and his strength and that ability to get outside the pocket and make plays with an advanced, vision looking downfield and very good accuracy, I think he has the talent to be a very, very good quarterback for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be an interesting race to see who is the better quarterback long term, and you never know what happens with the NFL draft. Ryan Leaf was number 2, Peyton Manning was 1, and they argue that Ryan should be 1 to some people in 1998. We saw what happened there. So you never know what happens in the draft. It's certainly a crapshoot. I want to go to the New York Giants, defending Super Bowl champions. Some people have predictions they will miss the postseason. You're going to have the same cast of characters, Coughlin, Eli Manning and company. Of course, when they won Super Bowl 42, didn't have a successful run until last season when they won the Super Bowl. So what are your thoughts about the New York Giants in that NFC East, very tough division, coming up this season?
Well, it is a tough division. I like the Giants just because of the consistency that they have. Manning on offense, obviously. The defensive line still very good. And just having Tom Coughlin there, I think makes a world of difference. We can look at Philadelphia. They have a ton of talent on paper. I think we all expect them to be very good, but it's just they're becoming that team where the talent's there, but they haven't put it all together. And I think the same with the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of talent on paper. Dallas has more concerns, in my opinion, than Philadelphia. But as of right now, I'd say the Giants are the best team in that division based on what we saw last year, the players they've kept, the players they've added, and then just the consistency that coaching staff brings.
Yeah, generally the stat is the team that wins the Super Bowl will have a good season the following year. The team that loses the Super Bowl for a longest stretch in last decade, did not make the Super Bowl. It's hard to imagine the 14-2 Patriots the last season not making it. I think they will make the playoffs. Excuse me, the playoffs, not the Super Bowl. I want to get your take on the Patriots this year. Tom Terrific coming back, but I believe he is 35, so I'm not sure how much gas he has in the tank. We know Bill Belichick will be scheming up different devices on both defensive offensive ends. So I wonder if you could talk to us about the Patriots this season.
Well, yeah, I'm a fan of what they do and what they've done. I felt like they did a great job of reloading in the offseason to fill some of those problem areas, especially on defense. They added Chandler Jones, they added Dante Hightower. So they really gave themselves more pass rush, more run defense. Like we were talking about with the Giants, the consistency that the Patriots bring is best in the NFL. And anytime you have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, you're in a pretty good position to win a lot of ball games. I have them as the AFC representative in my preseason Super Bowl picks, and I think it would be a big surprise to everyone if they weren't there at the end of the year.
All right, let's go to Peyton Manning. Of course, didn't play last season with the neck injury. He is now with Denver New Ball Club. I know it's hard to figure out what matters in the preseason and what doesn't. You're not getting the A effort. You're not getting most of the starters to play in the preseason, especially week 2. But Denver did lose 30-10 in their game against Seattle, and Peyton Manning did not play well. He played average at best. But then I think Peyton will be okay. I think he's going to shake off any rust he had for not playing the entire season. I want to know if you disagree or agree with those statements.
I agree. I think he might be a bit different than the last time we saw him, but I think the talent is still there. I mean, he still has a very good arm. And what made Manning great for so long wasn't necessarily, otherworldly arm strength. It was his intelligence, his vision, the things he did before the snap. So I think Manning will be just fine. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve, I think, just with the new team, the new line, especially the new players around him. But we're talking about one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So I don't think it will take him long to knock the rust off and get the Broncos in contention out in the West.
Yeah, it's such a great point because people forget about that. Even though Peyton Manning is 6'5" and has a big build, his arm strength, that was actually ironically one of the reasons people liked Ryan Leaf back in the 98 draft, was because his arm strength was superior to Peyton's. But Peyton's IQ of a football level, able to call audibles right at the line, is what separates him from other QBs. So you're right there, and I agree that he'll have a pretty good season coming up. Let's talk about the Jets. Again, still hard to figure this out because it's preseason and you don't know if it'll continue. But they have not scored a touchdown in 2 preseason games, and we know that they had some struggles on the offensive end last season, and, of course, the 8-8 finish, a disaster in New York. I've talked about this before and talk about it again. What will it take, if anything, to get Tebow as a starting quarterback if they struggle and they have an offensive drought?
Well, I don't think it'll take much. I know that the Rex Ryan really believes in Mark Sanchez, and that's kind of his guy. But it won't take long for the fans and the media in New York to revolt if this team starts out poorly. If they're 0-4, if they're 2-4, I think there's a good chance that we see maybe systematically start to see more and more of Tebow in that offense. But if Sanchez plays in the regular season the way he has in the preseason, then it won't be long. But on the flip side, I don't know that Tebow's much of an upgrade the way he's played the preseason and what we've seen from him in the past. Just my opinion. I think that the Sanchez gives them a better shot to win games long term. Tebow's, it's hard to argue with what he's done, but just from the classic mold of quarterback play, I think Sanchez is the better guy.
All right, I want to go out to Arizona right now. I am from that state, so it's been hard to be a Cardinal fan up until the last 4 or 5 years, to be honest with you. Of course, the trip to the Super Bowl and a couple of playoff appearances somewhat have gotten us Arizona fans to rally around. Of course, not the same without Kurt Warner. Big injury today for the Cardinal fans. And, of course, this player, Levi Brown, offensive tackle for Arizona. I thought the addition of Levi Brown in the draft, picking him up, was a big reason for Arizona's turnaround. He was able to give some protection for Kurt Warner. So is this just going to be a disaster season for the Cardinals? They got Michael Floyd in the draft, but last season, just so far behind the 49ers, it's hard to believe that they'll be able to catch up, especially now with this injury.
Yeah, I think it is. It's going to be a tough year. You mentioned Kurt Warner. They've never really found anyone to replace him. And as of now, maybe it's Kevin Cobb, maybe it's John Skelton. Neither guy has really blown me away in the preseason or even what they did last year. But I think a lot of the problems start up front. Levi Brown's been hot and cold since Warner retired. Hasn't really developed as an elite left tackle. His injury is going to hurt, though, because there's not great depth behind him. They have an undrafted free agent rookie who's going to step in and play left tackle, so that's always a concern. But, the Cardinals are a team with a few good players, but they're not a great team. Larry Fitzgerald needs help. The guys on defense, Calais Campbell, Adrian Wilson, they need help. And right now it's just not a complete team. I think unless something dramatic changes, then it's going to be a long year for the Cardinals. They, can hope to finish third in the West, but the Niners are so good. I think the Seahawks are underrated. But the Rams haven't looked very good yet, so maybe there's hope for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's a sad truth, but you're right. It is an honest opinion. We do appreciate that. I mean, we had a run. We had a chance to win in 43. Didn't work out, and I think it'll be a while before we get back to the NFL Promised Land. Let's go out to Green Bay. Interesting story. Greg Jennings, he insists he's only had 2 concussions. According to the Green Bay medical staff, he's had 3. And in any case, he returned to the Packers. He complained of headaches earlier, apparently hurt himself in the family night game. But what are your thoughts? Greg Jennings is such an important part of the Packers and what they do out there. Had a great season last year, 15-1, and then obviously that game against the Giants in the postseason, they certainly weren't expecting that. But where do you see the Packers going? And Jennings, do you think he'll recover from this injury of the family night game?
I think he will. Jennings is a tough guy, and concussions are hard to come back from. They're different for everyone, but everything I've read and the people I've talked to are pretty optimistic about Jennings returning. I think Green Bay is set up to have a very nice run this year. They filled some holes on defense. They get back some injured guys who were out last year. Definitely affected their season. And then I even like the addition of Cedric Benson in the backfield. I think it gives them some experience, gives them a tough runner who can slow the game down once it gets cold up in Green Bay. And maybe he's not a great pass protector. He's not going to add a ton of receptions, but I think he can be an effective between the tackles runner, which is really what they've been missing with that great passing game. I like Green Bay a lot. I could see them being in the Super Bowl, but the NFC's tough this year. We talked about San Francisco. We talked about the Giants. The Saints are still there. A lot of teams are getting better. But Green Bay, at least offensively, they still look to be at least a full head ahead of everyone else in the game right now.
All right. Matt, we hate to do this, but we got to run. This is just too short of a segment. But thank you for the insight. Great stuff, even though no one likes to hear, excuse me, as a Cardinals fan, that they won't do so well this season. But it is the truth, so I do appreciate it. We appreciate your time here on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio, and we look forward to having you on in the future.
Sounds great, guys. Have a great day.
All right, be well out there. All right, we're going to take a break, and if basically after this break, we're going to have an exciting guest on the other side. Raphael, tell us about the guest.
Greg Stobart from Goal.com, another contributor. Join us to talk about the first real legitimate weekend in the British Premier League or English Premier League, the EPL. Just talk some Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Man United, Tottenham, and all those other great teams. And later in the program, we are going to have Jay Cohen from the AP, which is fun, to talk about stuff from the Olympics and some baseball going on right now. Melky Cabrera is a big story. More details with that. And maybe talk some AL MVP chase, NL MVP. Seems like Andrew McCutcheon right now is the favorite in the NL, but we'll see. Then end the show with Rob Kennedy from ESPN. So let's take a commercial on the other side. Greg Stobart from Goal.com.
This is Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM. You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Strain CC, compression fit, UV protection, moisture wicking, anti-odor, and physique enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Strange is a revolutionary CC garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back on Louis Live, Ari and Rafi Louis.
Well, we're brothers.
That was weird. Ari and Raphael Geller, Ari Louis and Raphael Geller in the house. Good 30 minutes to start the show today on Monday. Have a good long week. Want to remind everyone, Kevin Youkilis this Wednesday at 5:30 Eastern, 5:30 Israel time. We're going to start the show early that day. We're going to try and get Sean Green on. So we're going to try and get Youkilis and Sean Green back to back. That is the hope right now. But Kevin Youkilis this Wednesday at 5:30, and working on Larry Brown right now, and a few other very cool guests. But Kevin Youkilis is confirmed for this Wednesday at 5:30. Anyway, moving on now to more important things. Let's call Greg from England, calling his landline, hoping that helps with our connection, of course. Ari wants to make sure we have the best connection. And excited to have Greg on. It's always fun to have people on from the Goal.com team. You guys might know us as having on Zachary Rick, who's been on the show a few times. Even Ari enjoys Zachary Rick, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to call Greg now in England, London, or wherever he is in England, and talk about the EPL, because there's been a lot of great matches. And there's a big match tonight, Everton, Man United. And let's see if we have Greg. Greg, am I speaking with Greg?
Yeah, you are indeed. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Greg, you're on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, guys. Welcome.
Okay, so let's get right to it. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about, and I just got to tell you, Greg, we love having our guests on from England. It's really the best. The Goal.com people from America are great. We really love them, but Goal.com in England is a true pleasure, and just thought I'd put that out there.
We're the main ones, so that's why.
Right.
We're the big dogs of Goal.com.
Yeah.
Don't tell Alex Lever do that, but
yeah, we've had Alex on. Let's start off though with this weekend. Really exciting matches and some interesting results. I want to start off with West Bromwich and Liverpool. I'm not sure if we expected 3-0. Maybe we didn't expect Liverpool to win. But what are your thoughts on the new tenure right now of Coach Rodgers?
I mean, I think the problem for Brendan Rodgers is he's not got a lot of money. He's bought two players. He spent 25 million, 30 million. But it's going to take a lot of time. You know, he's got players who don't suit his style, like Stuart Downing, like Andy Carroll, and it showed against West Brom. It's a tough first fixture, but Liverpool fans came into the season with a lot of optimism, thinking about top four. A bit of a reality check for them, but, a sending off is always going to make a massive difference. They could have got back into the game, but it was over once Daniel Agger got sent off, I think.
Right, and we've had a lot of great guests on from England, from the British media, from Sky Sports and BBC and ESPN Sport, David Jones and Annie May, and they've all told us that they think that this Liverpool mess is going to continue for the rest of the season. It's not going to get better. Then our good friend Tommy Smith from ESPN America told us that he expects Liverpool to be in the top four. So very interesting things there from Tommy. What do you expect in the long run from this Liverpool squad? Is it possible for them to contend for Champions League play, top four, or are they going to do what they did last year, top 7, top 8? What's going to happen?
I think, it's an old cliche. I think it's a season of transition for them. There are easily 5 better teams than Liverpool in the league. Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham and the 2 Manchester teams. I can't see Liverpool finishing above any of those sides. They're probably looking at a top 6 finish unless they can get a couple of really big name signings in. I just don't think they have the quality, and Kenny Dalglish didn't have much of a style, and Brendan Rodgers is going to try and get these players playing passing football, but it's going to take a few months before they click into gear. I think they might be okay after Christmas, but I think Saturday's game and the result might be a sign of things to come at least for the next few months. And they could do with Clint Dempsey or, someone to freshen it up a bit, I think.
Yeah, let's move on now to some more of the matches. I watched this Arsenal-Sunderland match. Very interesting. I think Arsenal, in reality, probably should have won 3-0 or 2-0. They had a lot of opportunities, but they couldn't convert. Were you excited or happy with what you saw from Arsenal? I mean, do you think this team is going to be able to compete with every team this year? And do you like some of the new additions they have?
I think Arsenal were okay on Saturday.
Okay.
But the big question really with Arsenal is how they're going to replace Robin van Persie. And, the signs weren't great when Olivier Giroud, their new signing, their new striker, the guy who's probably got to step into Van Persie's shoes, he came on off the bench. You can't judge him on one game, but he came off the bench. He had one chance near the end, and he shot wide. And Arsenal fans are going to think, well, Van Persie would have scored that, and that would be the difference between 1 point and 3 points. And that's the big question for me with Arsenal this year, how they replace Van Persie's goals. He scored 30 goals last season. That's the difference between finishing mid-table and third, as they did in the end. I think they've got a great squad. The midfield looks really balanced. I don't know about you, but I thought Cazorla looked an exceptional player on Saturday. He's going to be excellent. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the big question for them is how they replace Van Persie's goals. And if you're judging on strikers, you look at the 2 Manchester clubs, they've easily got the best strikers in the league. So Arsenal will comfortably finish top 4, 3rd or 4th, but I don't think they'll be challenging for the title this season.
And as Goal.com exclusively report, I believe it was yesterday that a Song is moving on to Barcelona. It's been speculated for a long time. You think he's going to be missed?
I don't think he'll be missed quite as much as some of the Arsenal fans do, really. I mean, Arsenal's 3 best players last season were Koscielny, Song and Van Persie. Right. And it's a bit of a blow for them because they've lost 2 of their best players from last season. But Song is a good passer of the ball, but he hasn't got the defensive discipline that Arsenal really need, I don't think. I think he had a brilliant relationship with Van Persie, but I think if Arsenal can get in a more defensive-minded player, someone like Jan Envia, and provide more of a base, more protection for the back 4, because their back 4 can be dodgy at times, get someone in to protect the back 4, and then that can release the likes of Cazorla, Podolski, Oxlade-Chamberlain, because they've got such good attacking midfielders. I think £15 million, I think it's a good deal for Arsenal. It's a good deal for Alex Song. I'm not sure how good a deal it is for Barcelona, but I think an Arsenal will get by, but they'll need to replace him, especially because we don't know what's going to happen with Jack Wilshere. That's the big question with Arsenal's midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I agree with you. I think the fans are overreacting a little, and I think they'll figure a way. Let's move on now to a team that I'll be honest with you, Greg, in Israel now is going to get a little more headlines. Of course, I'm talking about Swansea City, the Welsh team, who has Israeli star Itai Shechter, who played in the first German league, but his team was relegated this year. Swansea playing amazing football against QPR 5-0, a really interesting game. Really appreciated the way they played. Is this kind of a fluke? I mean, could we see Swansea play this type of football for the rest of the season, or was this great execution by Swansea, or just a horrible day by the Rangers?
I think you've got to be a little bit careful because Bolton won 4-0 at QPR on the first day of last season, and they ended up getting relegated. So it's one of those things you can't judge on one game, but the signs are very encouraging. Swansea played, it's not a fluke that they played like that because they did it a number of times last season under Brendan Rodgers, and they made it's a risky appointment of manager in Brian Laudrup, but Michael Laudrup, but it's very smart, I think. They played some brilliant football. Michu, the guy they signed, the attacking midfielder who scored 2 goals, and 2 excellent finishes. He looks sensational. And the question is whether they can carry on doing it. They're not going to have a day like that every week, but they'll win enough of their home games, and they play superb football. And if you look at someone like Leon Britton, who was playing right down in the lower leagues of English football a few years ago, I think Swansea will probably be fine this season. And that was, like you said, that was certainly the performance of the weekend.
Absolutely, and Michu was really amazing to watch, coming over from Spain, had 15 goals last year. I believe, Laudrup had to convince the team to spend money on him. They didn't really want to. He played for Rayo Vallecano, I believe.
He scored lots of goals for them. I think it's 17 goals in our league last season.
Yeah, 17 goals, and very, very exciting to see him play so well. And my question for you, I don't know how well you know Itai Shechter, even if anyone does know him in England. Of course, in Israel, he's kind of our star after Ben Ayoun, and we'll get to Ben Ayoun. But if you do know much about Shechter, do you expect him to do much for this QPR team? And you can be honest with us. We won't get mad at you if you say no.
I think you get a chance at Swansea. Like I said, Leon Britton was in the lower leagues a few years ago. You never know how a player is going to adapt to the Premier League. Some of the best players in history haven't adapted to the Premier League. You think about someone like Juan Sebastian Veron or Andrei Shevchenko. It doesn't always work out. Crespo. So, even the best sometimes fail to adapt. But if he's got the talent, if he's got the skill, and, from what I've heard, he's technically he's a good player, which, it might not work. It might not work so well if you're going to Stoke, who just lump the ball up to the big striker. But if he's got the technique, Swansea, it'll suit his style. And they play quick passing football, lots of movement. They work really hard on that in training. I can't guarantee anything he hasn't played, but he'll have a chance. I think he'll have a chance. He'll be given chances, and if he takes them, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think Israel's ready for a new star. We have a lot of guys around Europe who play well. Of course, Ben Ayoun, who's played really for Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal, and West Ham back in the day. So we've had him, but he's moving on. He's getting older. We need a new star. Shechter was the star of the national team, was a star in Israel for Hapoel Tel Aviv, a big club here. So it'll be exciting to see what happens there. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep moving. Newcastle and Tottenham, that was a pretty interesting match as well. What were your thoughts from that match? It seemed that Newcastle outplayed Tottenham, at least in my opinion. Tottenham didn't really show up until late in the second half, and by then it was too late.
Just while you're on the Israeli players, I'd mention Nir Baiton, who was on a trial at Man City. I think they were quite impressed with him. He looked like he might have a future. I don't know about you guys. Thoughts on that? The Tottenham game, I thought Tottenham were a better team, actually. I thought they hit the woodwork twice in the first half, Jermaine Defoe and Gareth Bale. They played an okay away performance. It was a pretty dull match. But Newcastle had a bit of quality. They had Ben Arthur won the penalty really well. The first goal was absolutely fantastic from Denver Bar, an absolutely world-class finish from a player who hadn't scored for months and months. I think Tottenham will actually take heart from that performance, if not the result. And Newcastle, they need to bring in a couple more signings for me, but they'll be up there and about where they were last season, top 7, top 8.
Yeah, Newcastle's coming off a great season. I've asked this to all our guests, Greg. Cisse, last year, 13 goals, I think 14 caps, 14 appearances. A lot of hype. They didn't really want him to play for the Senegalese national team in the Olympic tournament. He's apparently really their player of the future Is he going to be able to continue the pace this season, or is he going to kind of die down?
Sorry, I missed the name. Was that Cisse?
Yeah, I was asking you if you were...
I think he'll find it harder this year. He had an absolutely golden period, and everything he did went into the back of the net. He scored 2 goals against Chelsea last season, when either of them could have been goal of the season contenders. I think he'll score a lot of goals. He'll score 15 goals maybe, but he's not going to be scoring a goal a game again next season because teams will finally start to work him out. But he's an excellent goal scorer.
It's great to see him from Senegal be so effective. It was awesome watching him last year, as you mentioned, pretty much score every time he came on the pitch. It was really, really exciting. How about Chelsea? Were you excited with this new team? A lot of money. I mean, this team, if you look at it, has spent a lot of money, a lot of youth on this team. Of course, a lot of the older guys moving on, Drogba to China. They're the Champions League reigning champions. I mean, they won the Champions League. A lot of people forget this. They didn't finish in the top 4, but they did win the Champions League. What do you expect them this year? Is this young talent going to be able to be successful immediately? We've had some people on our show say they could win the Premier League. We've had some people say they're a clear number 3 after the Manchester teams. Where do you think Chelsea will end up this year, and what's the potential with all this young talent?
For me, they have a weaker squad than Arsenal at the moment. I think they're probably the 4th best team in the league, but they have that winning mentality. They're European champions, and they're in a bit of transition because they've got all these players, these old experienced players like Terry, like Lampard, like Cech, who can get them through the season and win these important games, win these points for them. But at the same time, they're bringing in the young players, which is why they're spending so much money on the new signings like Oscar and Hazard. And I went to the Community Shield and I looked at Eden Hazard and you could tell he's going to be a very good player. And I thought he might struggle with the pace of the Premier League. And then 2 minutes into the game yesterday, he's played a perfect pass, and he's won a penalty. So he's going to be an excellent player for them, very important. I don't think they'll be challenging for the league, but they're the 4th best team for me. It'll be a season of transition. I think they're looking at next season will be when they're really fighting for trophies again. Interesting.
So you think that they will come in 4th, they will qualify for Champions League as well for next year?
Yeah, and I think last year, as good as they were in the Champions League, any Chelsea fan would admit to you they weren't the best team in Europe. It was a bit of a fluke, but it doesn't matter in knockout tournaments. They got through, they won at the Nou Camp, so they got the job done, but they've got a lot of work to do on their squad.
Yeah, an amazing comeback, of course, against Bayern Munich. And now to tonight's game, a lot of people are very, very excited, or maybe this is just me, to see pretty much, let's be honest, Greg, one of Sir Alex's last squads. It's no secret he's not going to be here forever. He's 70 years old. He's building this team. A lot of revenge. They want to win after last year's, I don't want to say it wasn't a collapse, but after last year's disappointing second-place finish, they want to win this year. They want to win every year, obviously, but this year is very important to them. What do you expect us to see tonight against Everton?
The interesting selection issue is whether Robin van Persie plays. You look at United's forwards now, Van Persie, Rooney, Welbeck, Hernandez, they've still got Berbatov, they brought in Kagawa, they've got loads of attacking midfielders. I think they're looking really well set up front and going forward. And like you said, after what happened last season, there'll be a bit of revenge on the menu, especially the way they screwed away, especially the fact that Man City won the league. And of course, it was against Everton last year, the 4-4 draw at Old Trafford, when they really blew it. Man United, they were 4-2 up with about 10 minutes left. They drew 4-4 and they've ended up losing. They've ended up finishing second on goal difference. So, it's a big test for them tonight. Goodison Park's a really difficult ground to go to, and the really big problem for Man United tonight is they've got 4 defenders injured.
Right.
And Rio Ferdinand picked up a groin injury over the weekend. Johnny Evans is still injured. Chris Smalling is injured. Phil Jones is injured, and it sounds like Michael Carrick's going to deputise the centre back. And I do fear that Carrick might struggle. So I might have to sit on the fence and go for a draw tonight. But United it'll be a 2-horse race for the title. Manchester United or Manchester City, without doubt, for me.
And an interesting story here. Darren Fletcher, who last year was very sick, and the rumors he never come back, is rumored to be playing. He played in an exhibition game, less than a week ago. Captain, or very important player in the Scotland national team. Is he going to be effective now? Is he back from his illness? Do you have any kind of inside info to tell us?
Well, there's been so many rumours about Darren Fletcher. The problem is, when he starts training intensively, that's when the problem comes back, which is why in January he had to take an extended break from the game so he could let it settle down, because the training really didn't help. So he could do a week of training and be okay, but then the next week he's got ulcerative colitis, and then the next week it comes back, and that's the difficulty for him. If he can get fully fit ever again, he's a very important player, and Sir Alex Ferguson absolutely loves him because of his work rate, because of his heart. His skill on the ball is very underrated. But with the problems he's got, his health is the most important thing. And, I think United can't rely on a player who's got that kind of condition. It's really, really sad situation. I think we'd all be absolutely delighted to see him on the pitch. But the main thing is he's healthy, and I don't know the current situation. I know he's been working, he's been training, but like I said, it's a very on and off condition, and he's got a job for life at Man United, so he'll be okay. But I'm not sure entirely what the situation is at the moment.
Yeah, as you mentioned, a very sad story. It's obviously not a football injury. It's not like he has a bad knee or a bad arm. It's something serious. So we'll see what happens there, and we can just wish him the best. An interesting thing here, Shinji Kagawa coming over from Germany was very effective for Dortmund, helped them win last year. Do you like this fit? Was this a smart move by Sir Alex? I mean, a lot of people were saying that they weren't so sure he would have done this if he knew he was getting Van Persie. But, I mean, is this a good fit? Is Kagawa going to adjust to the Premier League coming from Germany?
I mean, he's a really good player. He scored loads of goals and got plenty of assists in the Bundesliga last season. Players often adapt well from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, which could suit him. I'm not sure United really needed him, as you say, but there are a lot of rumours about Nani maybe leaving next year. He's still not really open talks over a new contract. And Sir Alex loves a quality player. He was in for Eden Hazard and he was in for Lucas Moura, so he was clearly looking for that kind of attacking midfielder this summer. I think they need someone who can play a bit deeper, personally, someone to take over from Scholes. But I think he'll be a very interesting player. He gives Ferguson plenty of options in that 4-2-3-1 formation. And let's be honest, if you're looking commercially in terms of shirt sales, they've lost Park Ji-sung, and I don't think Kagawa will do any harm for them on that front either.
Okay, yeah, interesting point there. And now let's move on before we let you go to Man City. What's up with this team, Greg? They always seem to like the thrill of coming back. Down 2-1, win 3-2. Really the big story out of this match, forget the way City played, is Aguero. I wanted to know, I personally haven't checked the media yet in England or in in Manchester, to see what's going on with Aguero. I know, sir, that Mancini said after the game they have to wait 2 days to kind of let the knee swelling go away. And have you heard, though, anything coming out? I mean, is this a torn cruciate ligament? Is this something that's going to take him out for a long time?
Well, I was at Man City yesterday, and they were really worried. It looked like a serious one. Thankfully, Aguero has actually tweeted that it doesn't seem too serious, and the word going around today, coming out of Manchester, is that it's not ligament damage. He's likely to be out for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's just a bad knock to the knee, just a bad bump, rather than anything serious. And it looked like he'd done ligament damage, but they do, like you said, the MRI scan, they have to wait a couple of days, but they're pretty confident it won't be much longer than 3 or 4 weeks at the absolute maximum now, which is a huge relief for Man City because he's absolutely vital for them.
Oh yeah, I was watching Mancini's press conference, and he looked like he saw a ghost. I mean, you could tell he was just completely devastated. It didn't even seem like he really cared about the match. Obviously he did because he's a great manager, but you could tell on his face he was just like, oh no, what am I going to do? And they asked him a question, and he said they might have to get someone new, a new striker. So that's great, I think, for all football fans. Maybe not for United fans, of course, but an amazing player and one of the most memorable moments really in all sports last year, and that goal against QPR and helped them win the
Magic, wasn't it? And he scored so many goals. He was their top scorer last season, and yeah, that memory of that last game of the season was absolutely awesome. And yeah, he's absolutely huge for them, and so is Tevez this year as well.
Yeah, I was going to get to that next. Fellow Argentinian Tevez, we went through a whole crazy drama. I don't know really how to put it in other words. I think he spent 4 months not on the team, maybe 5 months. He said he's ready to go. He said he's very excited. He said, the past is behind him. He made peace with Mancini. He's ready. I mean, is this true? You think he's going to give us a season that we'll remember?
He looked lean and mean yesterday. I've never seen him looking that fit and that trim. He took his goal brilliantly. He won a penalty. He looks sharp to me, and he's got a good, if Aguero is fit, which we hope so, he's got a really good understanding with Aguero as well. Even at the back end of the last season, they showed that when he was clearly unfit. He's a class player. It seems his rift with Mancini's been resolved for good. So I think he'll be huge for them, absolutely huge.
Yeah, I think it'll be exciting just to see what this team can do with him the whole season. Last year, they didn't have him for most of the season. They still were able to win. Very interesting dynamics with his team. Any news about Dzeko? Again, he saved the day as he did against QPR. He always seems to come up in the clutch. A lot of reports that he was leaving. Adam Johnson, of course, I believe is gone or is on the way out. But is there any news on Dzeko?
Yeah, like you said, Dzeko came on yesterday and scored a really important equaliser. I don't think Dzeko will leave unless they can get someone in now, especially with Aguero's injury. The word is that I've heard that City are trying to sign Stefan Jovetic from Fiorentina. If he comes in, Dzeko is likely to be allowed to leave. AC Milan are the team that are trying to sign Dzeko, really, but they're trying to work a loan to buy deal. And if Man City are going to sell him, they're going to want to sell him outright for straight cash, £25 million. So I think Dzeko will end up staying, but I wouldn't be gobsmacked if he leaves.
Yeah, I think City will miss him. Whether he was very inconsistent last year, but he definitely came up in big times. Came up at the end of matches. Let's let you go with this, Greg. Give us a prediction of your top 6. We kind of got your top 4. Give us your prediction of, I guess, 5 and 6, and maybe go through 1 through 6 again for anyone tuning in right now.
All right, then I'll go 1 Manchester City, 2 Manchester United, 3 Arsenal, 4 Chelsea, 5 Tottenham, 6 Liverpool.
Okay, and last question. Sorry, I said that was the last question, but most disappointing team you think at the end of the season, and the team that overachieves the most?
On the basis of yesterday, I'm going to say Southampton as the overachievers. I can see them doing very similar to Swansea last season and finishing in mid-table. Most disappointing team, I'm going to have to say Liverpool, I'm afraid. I just don't think it's going to work out for them this season, maybe in 2 years' time. Okay.
Greg, we've really appreciated your time. Like I said, I think the 6th member of Goal.com has joined us, and it seems like it always gets more fun, and you guys obviously know your stuff, and it's great to see you guys expanding. I was just talking to my co-host about how Goal.com has really become a great media outlet in football. We've had a lot of interesting people from Goal.com. From Asia, we had Kent Mensah from Ghana. Now we have you from England. We've also had a lot from America. So really, we love Goal.com. You guys do a great job. And Greg, we'd love to have you on throughout the season and see what's going on. And thank you for joining us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the match tonight.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Greg Stobart from Goal.com. Always a good time. As I mentioned, Ari, we've had now someone from Asia. Zachary Rigg is technically their Asian writer, though he writes about everything. Kent Mensah, you remember that interview, Ari, from Ghana. Straight up called him in Ghana because that's how we do it here. Really good connection, though. Right, Ari?
Yeah, it sounded really good.
Yeah, thanks Skype for that. But Ghana, and then, of course, a lot of people in America. Zach, of course, Lee Rigg is in America. Alex Libido, a lot of interesting people. It's funny if you mentioned, I don't know if you heard this, Ari, Greg mentioned that they're the best Goal.com section. Did you hear him say that?
I don't remember that. But
it was interesting to hear him say. I know he was probably kidding, or maybe he was being serious, but they are, I think, where Goal.com was originated. I'm not very good with this history stuff with websites. I'm sure Moshe, if he was here, would know, but they kind of came out of nowhere. I'm going to look into it maybe in the commercial break, but they're really have taken over as the legitimate soccer media empire right now. I don't really know. We're actually looking it up right now, and wow, yeah. So it's actually, according to this, launched in 2001, but did not get big until later, around 2004, 2005. And check this out. Goal.com represents the largest football community in the world with 22 languages covering over 200 countries. So they're doing it big, and they have really, really great reporters. And I mean, I'm trying to think of, it's kind of like, if you think about it, it's kind of like NBA.com, right, Ari, or MLB.com. So this is Goal.com for all of soccer. Or, this is really Eurobasket for soccer, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah, maybe even better, though, because the reporters are just spot on everywhere you go, and they're expanding. And it's kind of weird, though. They don't have one in Israel, which is weird. I actually wrote them about that, because they have, in all these Arab countries, and they have in all these random Malaysia and Indonesia. So our league is just as good as the Malaysian league. I can tell you that. It's way better. It's not even close. We have a lot of talent in our league, so I'm not really sure what that's about. Who knows? Maybe it's an Israel boycott. All right.
I don't know about that, but maybe you could be the representative of Goal.com.
Not interested, but that'd be hard. I don't know if I could do that. Israel soccer is very hard to cover, and I'm sure there's a lot better experienced people. Plus, I'm busy here with you doing the show every day.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Happy to have you here.
Yeah, happy to be here. But, yeah, interesting stuff there. So Greg Stobart from Goal.com, 10,000 followers on Twitter. So obviously some people listen to his advice. And he was very honest in everything he said. He thinks that Arsenal are the number 3 team in the league, which is kind of surprising. A lot of people have not said that. Really, everyone's been saying Chelsea, but we'll see what happens there. And, I'm seeing now that in September 2009, Goal.com launched Goal.com UK. So that's specializing in English football exclusively, and that's where Greg was from. So that's probably how Greg knows his inside out of the whole Premier League. And, let's just go through some quick headlines before we go to commercial. On the other side, Jay Cohen from the AP, Ari is going to talk to him. Or Ari and I guess we could share this interview. We'll talk to him about the Olympics, the basketball tournament, and some baseball stories. But okay, some news, and interesting. We didn't talk about this in our segment, but according to Goal.com, Man City is close to getting Fiorentina. Of course, that's in the Italian league. Jovic, who played very well last year, they're trying to get him for $30 million. So this might be the start of a very big, spending spree by City and their owners from, I believe, Dubai or Abu Dhabi or one of those Arab countries with oil. Wenger right now is saying Arsenal still on the market, looking for someone to replace Song, who of course left for Barcelona. That's not really a story. I think everyone knew that. Barcelona wants to win it all, says Messi, and I'm guessing that means win all, meaning Champions League and of course the La Liga. Last year they didn't win. And Cristiano Ronaldo said we are not in the best shape physically after drawing Valencia last night. Interesting draw there. It's a great time in football season. The season's starting. Really, a lot of things to come. And, I just want to confirm again, we just got
Kevin's number.
But we are excited to have Kevin Youkilis on the show. And
I'm not giving out the number. Don't worry about it.
But we don't need to talk about that. Anyway, let's go to a commercial break, and we'll be back on the other side on Louis Live.
Sports Talk Network in the Middle East. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
This is Tamar Cass, and you're listening to Israel Sports Radio.
Shalom from the United States. I'm Gina Pitts.
Parrish Graham.
Mike Pitts.
Roosevelt Hall.
Mike Roy.
We're your friends from the Pro Sports Lives radio show on WAFS Biz 1190 AM, You're listening to Louis Live.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Sports Strain Seat Seat, Compression Fit, UV Protection, Moisture Wicking, Anti-Odor, and Physique Enhancing. Certified by the Circle K. Sports Strain is a revolutionary seat garment that features high-performance properties and a compression fit, offering the wearer ultimate comfort and style for sports and everyday wear. Custom logos and team jerseys are available. For orders, please visit TamirGoodman.com. That's TamirGoodman.com.
Broadcasting live from Jerusalem. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Support Barak Netanya, Israeli professional basketball team, as they give back to the children of Netanya through Netanya Hoops for Kids. Netanya Hoops for Kids serves all of the children of Netanya, especially the ones that need us most. Through basketball clinics held by professional players, at-risk children learn life skills like teamwork, communication, discipline, and community responsibility from real-life heroes. Netanya Hoops for Kids partners with the municipality, schools, and local nonprofits to bring thousands of children to basketball games each season. Join us as a donor, partner, or fan. One city, one team, one family. www.netanyahoopsforkids.org.
The biggest names in sports are all on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
This is Dimitri Salita, and you're listening to IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Building love of Israel, one sports fan at a time. IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio, Raphael and Ari Raphael in the house. Aaron Krolik will be joining us at 8, or really not joining us, but doing his own show, kind of, as he mentioned, at the preseason of his show, since it's really there's not that much to talk about. But he will be in the house in 50 minutes. Of course, Tracy Freeberg will start her show in 2 Mondays from now, September 3rd. So that's exciting. We'll have a three show back-to-back slot. But
well, a couple of things before we bring in our next guest. I want to talk about the Israel Sports Radio Fantasy Football League. It's a lot of fun. Now, I believe we have the directions of how to log in.
Yeah, let me read them to everyone.
Okay. It's a lot of fun. We did this last year. We had about 12, 13 people get in. A winner of the bracket, if you will, of the pool gets to, as a prize, be a guest on this show. So that's a great prize. As long as they identify themselves. Because the winner of the March Madness bracket never came and identified himself. We didn't know who the person was. We just got a screen name.
That was weird.
Yeah.
So
they didn't get their prize, but that wasn't our fault.
Right. Aaron, of course, though, tonight's really going to go through the rules because I don't really know what he's talking about when he was telling me the this and that and that and this and this and that and that and this. So I don't really know what that was about. That's more for the fantasy guru people out there. I'm pretty sure it's a 2-quarterback league. I know that. If Aaron's listening out there, he texted me and said he was listening on Wonder Radio, which we need to get the ratings for, Ari, because we don't really know how we're on there.
Right.
But we're happy we're on there because Aaron listens to us on there, which means other people do too. But, yeah, I can't seem to open this email, so let me just really go quickly to the league. Actually, I'm not going to go to the league because we need to call our guest in 3 minutes. So should I go to the league, Ari?
I go real quick. Yeah, we have 3 minutes. So it's a lot of fun. If you never
two
did,
QBs. Aaron just texted me. 2 QBs.
2 QBs. What about the 2 QBs?
Per league. I mean, in the league.
Okay. So
usually it's one league. One QB. Sorry.
Okay, so it's a lot of fun. By the way, for those that are listening that have never played fantasy football, it's a lot of fun. Last year was my first year actually being in a league, and you got a little advice, a little tips. Make sure you set your players every week. If you neglect, sometimes you forget, and it'll be embarrassing because there could be an injured player that plays or doesn't play. You have someone slotted or started that's injured, so you don't want to do that. It's very embarrassing. It happened a few times last year. So, and also...
We need to get you signed up, Lar, because...
how much more time do I have?
It's not the time, so it might be filled up already.
Oh, okay.
No, if it's filled up already, we'd have to... I don't know what we would do. We'd have to... I don't know.
Maybe kick someone out. Or, I don't know, maybe we'd kind of watch it. But it is a lot of fun.
No, you got to join. Ari's not signed up, though, but we'll get him in there. I know that when I signed up yesterday, I was the 8th person, so I think it's...
Slots are filling up.
Yeah, which is good. That's very good. And the draft is going to be on 9 p.m., I believe. Aaron's going out of town abroad, or maybe it isn't abroad. Not really my business what his personal life is, but he's going on a trip for 2 weeks, and the draft is going to be on I believe it's either a Monday or it's a Thursday. I'm a bit mixed up. I know it's on the date, but we'll have more details. We're going to look this up.
We'll have more details during Aaron's show. But basically, I'll talk to this Aaron. I want to do a draft special where he is on the phone, and we'll if he's get to a computer, we can do this actually on the air.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in Israel for that.
Okay.
Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see though. But you know what? We got to move on now to our next guest, Jay Cohen from the AP. We have not had anyone from the AP, which is weird because we've had everyone from everywhere. So this is our first AP guest. I'm guessing a fellow Jew,
Cohen.
Jay Cohen. Maybe not. You never know. His dentist appointment's running long, so hopefully he's available right now. If not, we'll have to call him when his dentist appointment is over. And, he wants to talk. Just to give everyone a little background about him, he... 1 second, I want to get his bio up. We've been trying to do this for more of our guests. But he is a sports writer at the Associated Press. He works at, I believe, the main headquarters, meaning he covers everything. I don't think he covers a specific team. But he also, as I mentioned earlier, he said he was at the Olympics. So, all right, you can talk to him about basketball and track and field and all that. And he said his main topic is baseball, and what a great time for baseball talk. We'll see what happens there. So, what a day it's been. Louis Live here, Monday. Still have a great week of programming. Kevin Youkilis at 5:30. We're going to have a special 3-hour show that day. Trying to get Sean Green to go on back-to-back, but Kevin is confirmed, 4-time All-Star, 2-time MLB champion. I think he was a rookie in 2004. I'm not even sure he played that much that season, but he has a ring.
Yes, he does.
And a ring is a ring.
And we'll talk to Kevin. There's a famous Mel Gibson clip. Dennis Leary clip where he's talking about Mel Gibson because he just realizes in the booth, he's doing a broadcast for the Red Sox, and he realizes that Kevin Youkilis is Jewish.
Right.
So he's like, we have a Jewish first baseman. And then he made a play, and he said, take that, Mel Gibson. And then it was very funny. They're laughing. And then Kurt Schilling was pitching, by the way. He gives up a hit. And then basically the next play, they do a pickoff, and Kevin Youkilis tags him out. So it was very funny. So it was kind of freaky how it happened.
All right, we're going to call Jay now. Aaron wants us to call him to be a guest. Unfortunately, we have our guest booked for the next almost 3 weeks. So sorry, Aaron, we can't call you right now. But you'll have your show. You'll be here in 45 minutes, and I'm sure everyone would be excited to hear you talk about the fantasy draft, and we want everyone to join. Who knows, maybe, Aaron, if you're listening still, we can make a couple of leagues. That could be pretty cool, actually, because it seems like we're going to be able to get a lot. Once we put it on our Facebook page, maybe a lot of people are going to want to join. Anyways, calling Jay right now, Jay Cohen from Associated Press. Okay. Sorry, we just got some really big news here at Israel Sports Radio. Not big news, but important news for Ari and I. And Ari and I will talk about that in the next commercial. But right now, Jay Cohen from the senior writer for the Associated Press, going to get him on the line. A lot of great stuff to talk about. I just want to ask him, Ari, about the basketball Olympics, and you can do the rest. But I have to talk to him about that.
Absolutely. I understand that.
Good show. And as I mentioned, again, I'll say Kevin Youkilis this Wednesday, very big interview. Doesn't do a lot of interviews after that trade. Don't know if anyone noticed that. So very excited to have him on. We're going to talk to him about the prospects of him playing for Israel. Going to try and get Sean Green to come on as well. That'd be a special treat. Pretty much the two veterans of this Israel team, if, of course, Uke elects to join. There's still a lot of, not controversy, but we'll see if we qualify. Jordan's not picking up his phone, or Jay's not picking up his phone, means he's probably still in the dentist. So that's fine, no rush.
Okay, I think. Okay.
No, it was his voicemail. But we're going to try and reach him. Maybe even we'll give a call to Aaron Krolik, who's listening right now, and again, tell us really, really quickly about this draft. Aaron, if you're listening out there, send us your landline number so that we can call you.
Or if you're on Skype, you can send us your Skype name.
Right. Cell phones, though, it's not going to work today. It's just the connection's so bad. Right, Ari?
That's right. And why don't we take a commercial break?
No, let's keep talking.
Okay.
There's a lot of great stories, Ari. Why take a commercial break? I have to ask your opinion on some of the stories going on right now. In fact, this is an interesting. I want to talk about this with Mr. Cohen, but we can't get him online. But Ari, have you heard Melky Cabrera started this crazy thing about a fake website? It's really crazy.
I know he set up the fake website, but what was it for exactly?
I haven't read all the details. I've read this article a couple of times. Still don't really understand, or I do understand, but it's just such a complicated story. But this thing's getting worse and worse. Ari, should we call Aaron real quick on his cell for a minute?
Why don't? But it won't be a minute though.
3 minutes.
It has to be 3 minutes.
All right, Aaron, if you're listening, we're going to call you for 3 minutes. We also need to call our next guest, and the connection's been really bad. It's messing with our Skype. But we're going to call you, and it's actually literally going to be for 3 minutes. So, and then we're going to have to go because our next guest actually just wrote and said he's available, I believe. So we're going to call you real quick. It's going to be interesting to have you on our show, Aaron. I don't think you've ever been on our show.
Right. That would be like having Tracy on our show. Or PC Guy, or the wrestling guys. Special wrestling show this Thursday at 10 in the morning. So check out that.
Wait, Israel time, 10 in the morning.
Israel time, correct.
Wow, okay. So if anyone's up incredibly late in the U.S., 3 a.m., from a late night, Wednesday night, out at the bars or out at a party or working, who knows what you're doing late at night, check that out. But really, 3 minutes with Aaron Krolik. Aaron Krolik, are you on the line?
Yes.
What's up? How you doing?
You guys are so pathetic.
Tell us about it.
Why? How are you pathetic?
It's just funny because Raphael says, "Oh, we're booked for the next 3 weeks. Sorry, Aaron, we don't have time for you." And then all of a sudden, the guy's at the dentist. And you're like, "Oh, maybe we could have Aaron Krolik on for 3 minutes."
We gotta be loyal to our people, Aaron. It's nothing personal, and of course, you have a 2-hour show where you get to express your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, well, you guys are having a good show today, man. You're right. Goal.com is a leading source for sports soccer news worldwide. It's the real deal, So you get on these good guests. I just don't care about soccer unless it's World Cup or, Euro, I guess.
Right, and that's Ari as well. Aaron, I believe we're up to 10 people in the group. I need to check again.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
So if you've heard, I think, Aaron, we should maybe make a couple groups here because this is without even posting it on our Facebook or our Twitter, and I think with our Facebook and Twitter we could probably get another 12. I think it'd be interesting to have a couple of groups. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we can definitely, I think, figure out, we could have probably as many different, we could have, 20 people, and we could have different drafts. I think that's how we would organize it, is that we would have 2 different drafts, and then we would combine the leagues, and it could be, we could probably get crazy with it. So, yeah, go for it. Post it.
All right.
However, we have 12. Ari needs to book up. Ari needs to sign in still.
Absolutely, right.
And it's going to be a fun format because we have the 2-quarterback format, which I've talked about on my show before, and it's going to be fun. It was a good idea from you, Raphael, to get that started right now.
All right,
Yeah.
Aaron. Before we let you go, give a quick plug of your show, which will be on in 38 minutes.
Hey, I'm Aaron Krolik. I'm going to be having on some guests. I'm going to be having on one of my favorite Twitter minds. His name is I don't even know his name right now. I have to look on my Twitter account. But he's a big voice in terms of fantasy football online, and we're just going to talk about what's been going on. Talk about preseason week 2, and the injuries that just keep on stacking up. So injuries are coming up at the top of the hour.
Okay,
Injuries.
good stuff.
All right, Aaron, we're looking forward to seeing you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good show. I'll keep listening.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
you,
Aaron.
All right, man.
Hit exit so we don't got to pay for that 4th minute.
Okay, so Aaron Krolik on the line. Let's hopefully get a hold of Jay Cohen. Aaron, don't take that offensively. We didn't mean it like that. We just like to not keep our guests waiting. But since our guest is busy right now, then we could call you. Don't take it personally, though. We love you, Aaron. You know that. Right, Ari?
Yeah, and we're going to see Aaron in real soon, about 37
very
minutes
soon.
now. Counting down the minutes until Aaron comes.
Counting down the minutes until Aaron comes. And
does Aaron have a key to the studio, by the way?
We need to give him one.
Yeah.
It's not, Aaron, you're going to get one. You have to get one.
Play Nader at some point. We'll see.
At some point. Let's try Jay again. Let's hope this works. If not, we've had a great show so far. And again, Kevin Euclid this Wednesday, Sean Green, hopefully to confirm. Larry Brown, also we should hear news about that tomorrow. So very big guests in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully help with our ratings. But we need to get ratings for this Wonder Radio thing that we hear about.
Yeah, we got to help them out.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were on Wonder Radio until a couple weeks ago. I don't know how that even set up.
That's great, though. I mean, it's extra,
more pub.
Extra listeners, more pub, and working out some new basketball broadcasting details for the upcoming season. We'll keep you posted.
Also working on settle the store on the new website.
All right, am I speaking with Mr. Cohen, Jay Cohen?
Yeah, how you doing today?
Great, Jay. Thank you for joining us on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. Hope the dentist appointment.
Thanks for working with me.
Yeah, no, I hope the dentist appointment went well.
Yeah, it was mixed.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear. I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start off real quick. I was telling our listeners that you work on the AP's National Sports Stats, meaning you kind of cover everything, which is really cool. You cover the Olympics, and also your main expertise is baseball. So we're just going to start off with some quick Olympic talk. Of course, the U.S. men's national team, basketball team, that is. Were you impressed with their effort? I was rooting for Spain from the first day in this tournament. It was no secret on our station. I thought Spain would upset them. I was hoping they would. They fell 7 points short. I still think that with Rubio in the game and Marc Gasol not getting 4 fouls in the first 10 minutes, they could have won. What were your thoughts on just the U.S.'s overall campaign? Very close game against Lithuania. Very close first quarter against Tunisia. It goes on, tied in the third quarter against Australia. I mean, is something need to happen to this U.S. team so they're not always trying to make not comebacks, but why is it always so close?
Well, I think, I think the days of the Dream Team era are over. I mean, the rest of the world plays basketball much, much better than it did, 20 years ago. The U.S. team obviously has a superior talent pool, just like the United States struggles when it plays, soccer abroad. The same deal with, basketball. It has there's such a great talent pool that the United States is always going to have an inherent advantage. But, the rest of the world has closed the gap a bit. In terms of, going forward, I mean, there's no reason to think that the U.S., won't continue to be a heavy favorite. It's a heavy favorite in men's basketball every 4 years. That said, it certainly would not be, as shocking of an upset if they should happen to lose one of these games one year. Obviously, you talked about Spain. Argentina has also pushed them at times. There is a little bit of a problem with those teams in the sense that their core is getting older, and it's unclear, how much longer they're going to be able to play and if they can, bring up the same talent to their junior levels. So, it was interesting. In terms of those close games, I think it has to do more with the competition. I think, obviously, if you watch the tournament at all, the U.S. team, there were periods of time where they didn't show much interest against certain opponents, and then they would just sort of turn it on in one stretch, and that was enough. So, yeah, there's certainly a potential for one time, or for it to happen on occasion where they tune it out for too long and against a team that has, a similar amount of talent, and then they lose. But they're going to be the Olympic favorites for the foreseeable future.
Right. I agree with you. I think also Argentina team next time, that is 2016, Manu's going to be gone. Pablo's going to be gone. Of course, he's joining the Knicks. Scola gone. Andres Nocioni, who played for the Bulls for a while, also gone. So that team's probably going to be done. Australia, you never know. Spain, though, I really think Spain is really this team that, again, will be the competitor. And I've already made a prediction on our show, Jay, that Spain will beat the U.S. in 2016. I know that's a bit silly and premature, obviously, since it's in about 4 years. But I like Spain. I really do, and I think they're going to get stronger. I think Gasol, Mark, that is, can evolve, and his brother now is walking on at UCLA. You never know what's going to happen there. And Sergio Lal.
I would love to have seen, you said this, but I would love to have seen that game with Rubio.
Right.
And in 4 years, I think you'll see a much bigger, physically stronger Ricky Rubio after he, goes through the NBA weight program for a couple of years and he gets used to that type of physical play. And that's only going to make him better because he already has, the speed and the quickness and the vision, that can really hurt teams at any level. So, yeah, I would like to have seen that game with Rubio, but, you could also list the half dozen American players that were hurt that,
right.
could have made that game a little bit wider gap. But, yeah, no, it's an interesting prediction. You can definitely, if it happens, you definitely give yourself a big pat on the back. I told you so. But we got a long way to go before that one.
Right. I don't know. I think you mentioned Ricky Rubio. We need to see what happens, of course, from the return from the ACL. But there's a lot of talent there that people don't know about. Look at Navarro. He's a guy, if you follow European hoops, he's a legend. If you are a hardcore NBA follower, you have no idea really who he is. He played for Memphis. He was solid there, but you don't know that in Europe he was a god. So, I think that could continue. I think Spain will produce better players. Barcelona and Real Madrid, the club teams, really the same as soccer, which is kind of funny in my opinion, have developed these teams. They've made these teams some of the best teams in Europe. The talent will continue. As I mentioned, kind of a funny story, Gasol's little brother is just enrolled at UCLA. I know he's a walk-on. I know he doesn't have experience, but he is a Gasol brother, so you never know what's going to happen there. But let me ask you one question before we move on in the Olympics, and then we'll do a few 10 minutes of baseball. Derrick Rose, torn ACL. Ari's my co-host, of course. We were talking about this a lot the last couple of days. Would they risk sending Derrick Rose in 2016 when he already had a torn ACL? This guy's your franchise player, torn ACL at age 22, MVP. Is it worth? If I was the owner of the Bulls, I would veto it. So I was just curious what your thoughts on that were. I know it's, again, premature, but we love to talk basketball here, so give us your thoughts, Jay.
Well, the Bulls, if you look at the Bulls in particular, and obviously he most likely was playing for them at that point, they have shown reluctance, I think in the NBA in general, to stand in the way if players want to play in the Olympics. The Bulls particularly, if they were going to stand in the way, they would have stood in the way of Luol Deng, who is probably having wrist surgery very soon and could be out for part of the NBA season, but told them that he wanted to play for Britain in the Olympics and basically played through it. So the Bulls have shown reluctance to do that, and if they won't do that with Deng, they certainly aren't going to do that with Derrick Rose. Now, 4 years is a long time. I think he just got on Twitter and he was sending congratulations to the U.S. team pretty quickly after they won after they won gold. I think he wants to play. I think he wants that gold medal. So I would be really surprised in 4 years if he doesn't play. Even if the Bulls raise their strenuous objections.
Yeah. I think you're right. Moving on now. Just we don't have a lot of time because of the delay with the dentist, but it's all good. And Sorry, that's just a funny. I don't think I've ever said it on the radio, but that's live radio for you, and we really do appreciate your time. But so we want to talk to you about as much as we can. So we're going to kind of go through this quickly. But the U.S. Boxing team, not very good results. Really quick, what are your thoughts on that?
It kind of reflects, the country's interest in boxing right now. I don't think they're getting the same top athletes as they did in the past, which led to those Olympic results. They also had a problem with their coaching staff. They hired, the coach they hired was, basically they hired maybe, I think it was about 4 months before the start of the Olympics, which is just not nearly enough time. It'd be interesting to see if they keep him, what he's able to do in a full cycle. But I think, again, it's probably indicative of a larger problem in that, the top athletes are not choosing to compete in boxing right now, and that's hurting the U.S. talent pool.
Yeah, I mean, the past, all the great fighters, Ari's kind of our boxing guy. Ari, kind of chip in here about the boxing.
Well, in the past, you've had Muhammad Ali won a gold, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Sugar Ray Leonard, Oscar De La Hoya, and they've gone on to really great careers. So it's been a part of American tradition to have a great boxing team in the Olympics. This has got to be the worst one in American history.
Sorry, you guys still there?
Yes, we're still here. Yes, we're still here. Now, what I was saying was that Muhammad Ali won a gold, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Sugar Ray Leonard, Oscar De La Hoya, and then they've gone on to great careers. So it's very key and essential for Americans to have a gold medal or great boxing team in the Olympics, and this team flat out stunk, in my opinion.
Yeah, it did, and I think you'll see them make significant changes. I mean, the USOC usually will get involved. I think the head of the USOC even commented on it after the Olympics that he was disappointed in the showing by the boxing team. I would think they'll get involved with some money and try and correct the situation. But I think longer term, it is what it is. I mean, Americans aren't boxing. There aren't as many top athletes choosing boxing as maybe they did in the past, and that has a dramatic effect on your Olympic pool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, real quick, Usain Bolt. Jay, is he the best? Actually, here's a question no one really seems to be talking about. Is his record and everything he's accomplished since 2008 more impressive than Michael Phelps' full body? I would say no, but there are some people out there who would say yes.
Well, you're talking to someone who grew up. I was a swimmer in high school.
Okay.
So I'm going to stay with. I'll stay with Phelps because of the body of work and Bolt. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch a guy who's racing against the fastest people in the world and is still pulling away from them. But I think that Phelps is definitely a more well-rounded athlete. To be able to do the 400 individual medley and winning consecutive Olympics. That's each 4 strokes. It's roughly the equivalent of, Bolt doing, longer distances to go along with, the 100 and stuff. So I'll side with Phelps, but it's definitely an interesting comparison.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that also we got to let's not forget that, Michael Phelps has been around for 3 Olympics where Usain only for 2. That's a big thing that's not been talked about a lot. And obviously, Michael didn't get off to the best start, but, still had a spectacular Olympics. I think it was funny when people were knocking him, for not winning a gold. We expected so much dominance out of him that it was kind of unheard of, for him to not get a gold where, he still had an incredible Olympics after that after those first couple of days.
And that feeds into it too. He's one of those athletes who's notorious for hearing everything that's said about him.
Right.
So when people start saying that probably spurred him on even more.
Yeah, I think it was ridiculous when writers. Being in the media here in Israel, we're very careful, especially with the Israeli personalities, of not to say anything offensive. Ari once said something to a basketball player about them losing, and they got very mad. So I think it's rude that these journalists are saying he doesn't have the heart and the competition. Or these reporters, Jackie Mack from ESPN. I'm a very big fan of her, but she went on and said that he doesn't have the heart that he used to have. And I think in Jewish terms, it's chutzpah of her to say that because what does she know? Really, what what does she really know? Maybe I don't know. It's really none of her business. I know she gets paid to do it, but maybe, say something else, analyze something else. Last quick story from the Olympics, Ari Louis, an amazing story. We were guessing that you're Jewish today. We don't know. Even if you're not, we'd love to have everyone on. We're guessing with the Cohen that you're Jewish. Is it correct to assume you're Jewish?
You are correct, yes.
Okay. So, as a fellow Jew out there, how inspiring to you, even not religious, secular, very religious, doesn't really matter in the world, how inspiring was this Ari Louis story to you, especially being in the media and covering it?
Obviously, she's an amazing athlete, and the accomplishment by that team was amazing. But I think, personally, I was really even more impressed with how she handled herself after she was bumped out of a medal by a tiebreaker in one of the individual events, and how she basically refused to be petty or angry about it, and basically said, I wasn't good enough to win today, and was a really stand-up person basically in all of her interviews. A couple of people that cover gymnastics for us, Mia Tiarma and Will Graves, all said that too about her, that she's just very composed and she's very steady. She conducts herself in a very, professional manner, which, I find impressive considering, these gymnasts worked 4 years for basically one event. And for her to act as graceful as she did under some of those circumstances, I thought was pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just so inspiring. 18 years old, too, Jay. Not, 22, a very young girl, just graduated high school. Really inspiring in Israel. Really amazing that she's coming to Israel. We're actually hoping, we got her contact info for her agent. We're really hoping to get her on. This is kind of the next 2 weeks are going to be our Jewish weeks. We're having Kevin Youkilis on Wednesday and Larry Brown, we hope, and Herb Brown. So we hope we can get Ali. It's kind of funny. I was going to call you Herb. Jay, would you ever have thought that a U.S. gymnast would be a more popular interview possibly than Kevin Youkilis?
Yeah, no, especially not there. But you guys will enjoy Kevin Youkilis. I've spoken with him a couple of times about certain things, and he's a great interview, and he's doing great work for the White Sox. I mean, he's really helped them out at third base since he came over in that trade with the Red Sox. So.
Yeah, absolutely, hitting over 300, I believe, in a two-time World Series champion. Ari and I were saying in the green room, we think he was maybe a rookie on that team, or he wasn't. I don't remember seeing him play that much. I know he was on the team because he has a ring. And then, of course, was a member of the second World Series team. But speaking of baseball, Ari Louis is now going to talk to you about one of the most interesting stories, and that is Melky Cabrera. Ari, take it away.
Yeah, Melky, of course, caught for taking performance-enhancing drugs and got the 50-game suspension. Now, we're hearing this story. We still haven't had confirmation exactly what happened. We're a little confused about him setting up some type of dummy website. Could you elaborate a little more on this?
Yeah, I believe the New York Daily News was the newspaper that broke it. Apparently, some of the associates of his, outside of his, the agency that represents him, outside of the Giants, his teammates, all that stuff, guys that didn't know him, tried to set up a dummy website that included a fake product that he wanted to point to and say, I took this by accident, I didn't know what was in it. I believe it was even some sort of cream. And Major League Baseball's investigators, when they were presented with this, started asking questions about who, what is this product, what is this company, and basically traced it back to, someone with Cabrera and figured out it was all bogus.
All right, now I am a big fan of the game in the purest form, and these steroids really rip me apart because it's diluting the records in the game. I know most fans, they can say what they want. I think they enjoy watching all the home runs, and they don't like pitching duels, so I don't know if they care as much, but I certainly care. I think we have to have tougher punishments because Melky was a guy that was chasing a big contract, and he figured he would risk it. And if he got suspended, big deal. And I think we have to make a zero-tolerance policy that if you're caught once, even if it's a quote-unquote accident, you're kicked out of the game for life because that will make sure these players don't make these accidents. They'll be very careful what they eat, they drink, put in their bodies, etc. I want to know, what do you think we need to do to make sure we don't have this type of situation again in the game of Major League Baseball?
Okay, well, I would say, I think it's a lot cleaner than it ever was. I mean, you could tell in the numbers. The home runs are down, the game is more low scoring, all the stuff that it used to be before the advent of performance-enhancing drugs, the numbers are kind of returning to that now. So I think the game is much cleaner. I'm not naive enough to think that it's, completely clean. I think what you're describing is a little harsh. I think if you want to start to maybe if you want to go a little deeper, you could certainly make a strong argument that when a player is suspended, you also penalize the team in some way, either in some sort of fine or loss of a draft pick or something of that sort, to just incentivize these teams, to be careful of who they bring in when they sign players, and also to keep closer tabs on the players once they're, signed with the team, who's allowed in the clubhouse, who the players are, the company the players keep, that sort of thing. I think one time an app is a little bit harsh. I mean, people make mistakes, and these things can happen. Some of these players, not as much Melky Cabrera, but there are borderline players who are trying to provide for their families and things, and just make the wrong decision. So one time I think is a little harsh, but I think you could certainly make an argument for penalizing teams when they have a player like this who is suspended for a certain point because of a performance-enhancing drug, in this case testosterone.
All right, now, I want to go on to potential MVP race about Mike Trout, of course, playing with the Angels, and I want to know his chances of winning because he is a young rookie and didn't play the entire season, so his numbers are a little down as far as total home run RBI. We saw Ichiro Suzuki win as a rookie in 2001, but a little misleading because he had all those years in the Japanese league and he was 28 years old. I want to know, will the writers be a little hesitant, a little shy about getting an MVP award to a guy this young?
So you're talking about the American League MVP. That's an interesting question. Well, one, I think, will they be hesitant? No, I think if the writers feel like he's the best player, in the AL, or at least, I'm sorry, in this case, if they feel like he's the most valuable player, then that's who they'll vote for. The Angels are really struggling right now and are basically, been knocked down to the fringe of the playoff race. More often than not, the MVP comes from a team that either wins their division or at least is in the playoffs. So I think more than, his age and the amount of games he played this year, he's going to be hurt by, the Angels if they aren't unable to make it to the playoffs. It's kind of a muddled race both in, in the AL and NL for MVP and some of these other awards. So I'm trying to think of somebody, Miguel Cabrera for the Tigers. I mean, that's a guy who could be the AL MVP if they get in.
Sorry, go ahead. We were agreeing with you. We've been debating Miguel.
I like Miguel. I think
Ari
Miguel
likes
should
Miguel.
win.
Yeah, Ari likes Miguel. So it's a great, great. Go on, though. Think you had more. Did you have more to say?
I think I'm trying to think about the other division leaders. Miguel Cabrera is the one that pops off, the top of my head. But I feel like the writers are. If the writers feel Trout is the most valuable player, if the Angels kind of turn this around, get in, I don't think there's any reason to believe that he won't be MVP. He's certainly going to be the Rookie of the Year at least, so he's not going to go home empty-handed.
Yeah, no, obviously, I think there's no doubt about that. Jay, unfortunately, we got to let you go. It was really, really a lot of fun, and we're sorry about all the delays and everything. And we'd love to have.
That's my fault, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It happens, and that's one of the things we've experienced with live radio is that people, have to do what they got to do.
Dennis is never fun, but this interview was. And we hope you come back at a time, and you won't hopefully have to go to the dentist for a long time. So.
Yeah, exactly. You guys give me a call anytime. I enjoyed it very much. I actually lived in Israel for a short time, so it's nice to talk to people all the way across the world. So.
Yeah, okay, we'd love to have you on a lot, and have a great day, and we'll be in touch.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, Jay. All right.
Jay Cohn from the AP. So our first AP guest, we got him. It's another feather in the cap.
Right, and now...
we will not take a commercial.
We will not take a commercial. We're going to call Rob Kennedy, who's the president of Hoop Group, and he's a color analyst for Comcast and ESPN, and... it's time for some college basketball. It's been so long, Ari. It's been so long.
What's it been, 2 days?
It's been 2 days, but no, it's serious. I think it's our first. It's our first college basketball interview in a long time, and what's funny is that it's really, to be honest, it's really one of those things where like. Yeah, it is August now, but still, college basketball news has been going on so much. I mean, there's been so many stories right now, Ari, that it'd kind of be like if you heard Derek Jeter tore his ACL, this and that, this is that, this and that. I mean, there's some of the top players going into next year and ineligible. There's so much stuff going on right now. And, we're going to get right to it with Rob Candy from the Hoops Group and ESPN color analyst and Comcast color analyst. So we're going to dial him up right now, finish the interview off. I want to remind everyone, Kevin Euclid this Wednesday. Very, very big interview. We're going to talk to him about Team Israel. So we're going to hope that Team Israel gives us some publicity and love because I don't think they've interviewed him. But I'm sure he's really happy to get out of Red Sox Nation. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, for sure. He went definitely the upgrade by going to Chicago.
Oh, yeah, and then a new manager and a team that's contending. And, in Chicago things are just, this guy texted the owner, that guy texted the owner. No, he didn't text the owner, I texted the owner. No, that guy texted the owner, this guy texted. I mean, it's really getting ridiculous. And, okay, I think we have Rob on the line. Rob, are you there?
Yeah.
Rob, thanks for joining us. You're on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
We're doing really good, and I was just telling our listeners we've had a lot of great college basketball guests on, and you do play-by-play for ESPN and Comcast, and I've watched you before. I like your work, and we appreciate having you on. And it's never too early to talk college basketball. I was telling my co-host here, there's a lot of big stories with these recruits coming in. It just seems like they can't stop getting in trouble. So let's start and talk about Shabazz Muhammad not being allowed to go on the trip to China while the NCAA investigates him. This would be bad for Kentucky if it turns out that he can't play. Or excuse me, I meant UCLA. I was referring to Nerlens Noel.
No, might be good for Kentucky, but bad for UCLA.
No, just so much hype, of course, of him going to Kentucky, and then, of course, Nerlens decided to go there. But sorry, UCLA, which is going to have a strong team. We're going to see a Josh Smith can bounce back from his weight problems. The Ware brothers can be consistent, of course. Larry Drew coming over from North Carolina. So a very exciting team for UCLA, but they really need Shabazz. So what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, what happens in these cases is it's a precautionary measure by UCLA to not take him on the trip because he hasn't been cleared yet. The NCAA in too many of these cases lately, in my opinion, has just been taking too long with them. There's one thing to come on out and say that, all right, a player received benefits that he's not allowed to have and go ahead and say he's ineligible. That's one thing. But it's totally different to just drag the process on. And clearly the most glaring case of that, you go back to Mississippi State with Ronaldo Sidney and never ruling for a full year that there was a reason to keep him ineligible, but as well not ruling him eligible to be able to play. And by doing that, by just basically non-action by the NCAA, you took a year of the kid's eligibility away. What I would love to see is there be a time frame that the NCAA's got to make a decision, eligible or ineligible, and stick to that time frame. But for right now, for UCLA, they're heading, into this trip in China, not fully knowing whether or not they will have Shabazz ready to be able to play once the season gets started.
Right, and it's kind of disappointing to see what happens, to see if he's able to play. I mean, there's been so much buzz about him, and as I mentioned, the rumors that he was going to Kentucky. What about Noel? A lot of hype there. There's kind of the battle between them as being 1 and 2. An amazing shot blocker, supposed to kind of be a solid replacement for Anthony Davis, who, of course, played for Team USA this summer. What are you expecting from him? I mean, is he going to live up to the hype? And is this Kentucky team going to be a strong team next year?
Well, yeah, they're going to be a strong team. Now, to be able to be as good as they were last year, well, obviously that would be very difficult. It's amazing what John Calipari's done in 4 years. He's basically put together the number 1 recruiting class each of the 4 years. After Shabazz committed to UCLA, they were the number 1 team, and then when Nerlens Noel committed right after that to Kentucky, it swung it back to Kentucky's favor. They're going to be very young and very talented, kind of I think you're going to be able to say that about Kentucky for a while.
Yeah.
Until there's a change. Yeah, until there's a change potentially in the one and done, if the NBA next collective bargaining agreement has something different in there. But as long as the one and done's in place, I think you're going to be saying that about Kentucky a lot. The thing about Noel that I think Kentucky fans will be most excited about is his defense, almost like Anthony Davis was. He's going to be a terrific shot blocker. They also have another guy up front, Willie Cauley, who hasn't gotten as much attention as some of the other guys in that class, the Archie Goodwins and et cetera, but another 6'10" athlete who's really good defensively. And I could see those two guys playing together a good amount of time. All of a sudden, you got two young athletic defenders in the back line. Kentucky is going to be a team to be reckoned with again, despite the fact that they're going to be so young and with so many unproven guys. Even when you look at their returning guys and you look at their veterans, Ryan Howe, who's a transfer from NC State, he'll be one of their veteran guys if he's not played a minute of basketball for Kentucky yet. And I think that it's certainly a changing dynamic in college basketball, but one that John Calipari and Kentucky have not only been able to embrace, but they've obviously thrived off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, right across that state line are my Indiana Hoosiers. I lived in Indiana, spent a lot of time there. My father was there in the 70s during the really golden night of Bobby Knight and the time where, I grew up playing basketball with Scott May at the local Y, and Scott May is one of the most amazing people in the world, the legend in Indiana. Never really could do it in the NBA, but that's fine. So much hype about this team. I'm almost worried, Rob, that there's maybe a little too much hype. They're number one poll. They're number one on pretty much every poll. Andy Katz said number one. ESPN, Fox, Bleacher Report, CBS Sports. Everyone's saying they're number one. I don't know if that's a good thing for this team. They're still very young. They have a good recruiting class coming in. I think the recruiting class is a bit overrated. It was at first, I think, top 5 recruiting class. Now it's up to 11. Another player will not be playing this upcoming year. What do you expect? Is Cody Zeller going to become a superstar? He was a star last year, but are we looking at first team All Big Ten Player of the Year, All American, maybe third, second team? Is he going to pick up his game? Maybe 18 points, 10 rebounds. What do you expect from Cody?
Yeah, I think he'll be an 18 and 10 guy, no question about it. I agree with you. He emerged, especially late in the year, as a star last year. I think he's got a chance to be more than that this year. Now, whether or not he becomes a superstar where he's potentially the Big Ten Player of the Year and a first-team All-American, he certainly has the ability to do that. And because of that, I think I do agree with you, though, a little bit, is I'm not so sure that's the best position for Indiana to be in going into the season. Coming off of last year's Sweet 16 run and everybody excited about, what Tom Crean has done there, and rightfully so. He's done a masterful job in rebuilding the program, and getting the excitement back. Indiana's back. And so right. I think from a program building standpoint, I think it's terrific going into the season with that number one ranking and being able to say to everybody and out on a recruiting trail, look, we're back to being Indiana the way that Indiana should be. But I think for this particular team and what they're going to try to accomplish this year, I think that bullseye might be a little bit premature. When you look at the depth of the Big Ten this coming season, obviously Indiana preseason one, you can make a case that Michigan with Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr. coming back and with Mitch McGarry coming into the fold, they're potentially a top 10 team, as with Michigan State and Ohio State. So you could have as many as 4 Big Ten teams fighting for spots in the top 10 in the country. And so I think that the depth of the Big Ten is going to bang some people up. And I agree with you that maybe that's not what Indiana needs heading into the season.
Yeah, it's just so weird. You go from 3 losing seasons, and I mean really bad losing seasons, losing to Lipscomb. I actually was in Bloomington when Indiana lost to Lipscomb. That was one of the most embarrassing moments in Hoosier history. To suddenly having this amazing year that really no one expected. I'm a die-hard Hoosier fan. I went to every game when I lived there. No one expected this out of this year's team, and now suddenly you go as, we're going to win the national championship. I'm a bit worried about, and I want to get your thoughts on this, I'm a bit worried about Oladipo not being able to shoot a three. I'm a bit worried about Jordan Halls only being 5'10" and not being able to create his own shot. Like I said, these freshmen I think are a bit overrated. I think Michigan is a team to beat, and of course all my Hoosiers out there will say I'm crazy, and we do have listeners in Bloomington listening, so I apologize for saying that. But this Michigan team, I don't want to say is more experienced, but they're more experienced in a successful way. I mean,
well, they're more experienced probably in the guard spots. I mean,
right.
When Trey Burke decided to come back, that was huge for John Beilein and company. And Mitch McGarry gives them a piece that they haven't had. I mean, here's a guy that is going to come on in and be able to basically he'll be a guy that'll put up big numbers. He'll rebound the basketball, score it inside. And so I think he'll be as important of a freshman addition as it will be in the Big Ten next year because of what he'll be able to do to help shore up their front court, because clearly the back court's got a lot going for it. And I agree with you. I think Michigan's one of those sneaky teams, that could certainly challenge Indiana and Ohio State with Harry Kraft. And I think Quentin Ross got an opportunity to become a real superstar this year, take another big jump, and then Michigan State is still good. I mean, Athlon and Trice, and as long as Tom Izzo is still the coach of Michigan State, they're always going to be good. So that I agree with you. To have a run, Indiana's still a team that put everything together. They still have a chance to make a real deep run in the NCAA tournament. But I'll tell you this: it's going to be a heck of a race inside of the Big Ten to see who's going to win the Big Ten regular season and postseason championships.
Absolutely. And I was just going to follow that up, Rob, with saying you never, ever, I mean, if you're just a fool to count out Wisconsin, because they always are there. You never really know who Bo's going to recruit. He always gets some of those 7-footers from either, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin. They always seem to be successful. Look at Greg right now, just signed a contract in the NBA with the Timberwolves after a successful stint with the Celtics. So you never can count them out. I mean, they're a very weird team because they're kind of like Minnesota. They get all those guys from that area and just kind of do it big. And Tubby Smith, I think I'm blanking out on the name, but their center who got a 6-year of eligibility towards ACL last year is a very, very good player. Right.
And it seems as if Minnesota as well, now injuries now put aside, kind of everything stabilized. There was some talk in the off season that Tubby might be going back to, going to South Carolina, all that. He signed an extension. I think Minnesota's going to be good. I think Northwestern. This is the type of luck that Northwestern has.
Right.
Obviously, they lost best player in school history, leading scorer in school history. But now Shropshire's transferring from Louisville, becomes eligible immediately. They've got some good depth and some good talent still left over. The big kid from St. Thomas More just became eligible yesterday. He's 7'2", gives him a totally different dimension. So here you go. So Northwestern has a chance. Like, they've had a really good off season. They've gotten 2 commitments from junior guards, one from Jersey and Jaron Cena, another kid out in Illinois who really shoots the heck out of the ball. So all of a sudden, Bill Carmody's got everything going in the right direction, and lo and behold, you look at what he's got to go up against in the Big Ten. Any other year, this might be, Northwestern's year to definitely make the NCAA tournament. And my guess is they're going to be where they've been, 3 out of the last 4 years, right on that bubble cut, potentially with a better team than they've had in the last couple of years. So I think the depth of the Big Ten is really going to test Indiana throughout the year, and one of two things going to happen. You get battle tested. They may not win the regular season of the Big Ten, but still put themselves in a position to be able to, if you're playing well at the end of the year and you get on a little bit of a run and you get some good matchups, to still be able to challenge for a national championship.
Absolutely, and of course we here in Israel Sports Radio have gone close with Tim Young, who's a former star from Northwestern. I just did an interview with him, and he was telling us that when he decided to go there, being an All-American or a top 10 guard in the country, he was trying to change the whole program there, and he claims he did. Obviously, they haven't made an NCAA tournament, but they have been competitive last year against Ohio State. Amazing game. I watched it. Sullinger had, I think, 19 points, 19 rebounds. Yep. Played them very tough. As you said, a lot of great scores on last year's team. Rob, unfortunately, we have to go. I'd love to have you back on during college basketball season. We have a lot of great guests from ESPN, and we'd love to have you on. We're a huge college basketball station. Even though we're in Israel, we talk everything, and most of our listeners are in America. We have very good relations with a lot of the college basketball guys, including John Akers, who's actually a friend of mine, and I'm working for them or helping them out at Basketball Time. So we'd love to have you on. How does it sound?
Yeah, anytime, no problem.
All right, Rob, have a great day, and next time we have you on, we'd like to kind of preview the Big East, the SEC, and a few more conferences.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Rob. Thank you for joining us.
Take care.
All right,
yep.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's going to conclude our show for today. We had a jam-packed show. We appreciate it. Oh, I am not on mic. If you need me on mic, Raphael?
I can put you on mic, Ari.
Okay, great.
Ari's on the mic now.
All right. We appreciate everyone listening tonight. We had a jam-packed show. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. onward, we're going to thank everyone who came on the program. We start out with USA Today journalist Gordon Forbes, who's been to 39 Super Bowls and covered them. We appreciate his time. Moved on to the Bleacher Report's Matt Miller, giving us a preview of the upcoming 2012 NFL season. Then Greg Stobart from Goal.com, who spoke with Raphael about soccer stuff.
Soccer stuff. Can I be more... Can I be more specific, Ari, if you don't mind?
I don't know if we have time for that. Go ahead.
All right, I'll be quick. We just spoke to Greg about Man City's hopes. He believes they're going to win the title. He believes Arsenal's going to come in third. He believes that Chelsea will not be contending for the top three. And he believes that Liverpool will struggle under new coach Brendan Rodgers.
We then had Eric Krolik on for 3 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
Who, interestingly enough, is in studio, and his show is about to come on in about 3 minutes. So we thank Aaron for his time. We then
Thank you, Aaron.
Moved on to Mr. Cohen, Jay Cohen, talking about the Olympics and Major League Baseball, and we ended up with ESPN's Rob Kennedy discussing college basketball. Stay tuned. Later on this week, of course, Wednesday, big show with Kevin Youkilis and potentially Sean Green.
And potentially Ali Raisman. Working on that actually right after the show, going straight to work on Sean and Ali and Herb Brown, Larry Brown's brother, who's not just Larry Brown's brother. I'm kind of tired of everyone calling him Larry Brown's brother. He's one of the most famous Jewish coaches of all time. He's coached for 1 billion teams. Got the pleasure of having him on and some other big Jews around the sports world.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for some great programming later on in the week. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.